Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Faga Muradian here at the Reagan National Defense Forum at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California, where our coverage is sponsored by Boeing and Leonardo DRS, and it's our honor to be talking to the CEO of Leonardo DRS, former Deputy Defense Secretary Bill Lynn. Bill, thanks very much for making time for us.
Great to see you again.
It's always good to see you, whether here at Reagan or elsewhere. You were a former comptroller of the department. You were the head of PA&E at the time, which now is CAPE, an August analysis organization. And then you were up on Capitol Hill for a while as a staffer, so you know the budget process. How do you game this out, right? The current continuing resolution expires on December the 20th. It looks like we are going to have an NDAA, a National Defense Authorization Act, that Chairman Smith has talked about on the House side. Where are we in this process? What does it mean? And how are you guys thinking through what the next steps are?
Well, no, I think they're making progress, obviously a little more slowly than people wanted, but we have, maybe most importantly, we have this agreement that sets the numbers. They still have to agree on all the issues, and that's the holdup at this point. But as you said, Chairman Smith indicated that they have the authorization bill done and will be voted on, I think, this week in the House and maybe the Senate. So that's a good step forward. The appropriations, I think, are a little bit behind that. They're, I think, attempting to get a bill before the December 20th deadline when the current CR runs out. I think right now it's 50-50 whether they get something done or whether they kick it into January. Even if they do kick it into January, I think they will. I think it's starting to. The steps are starting to get shorter. I think we'll see a bill either in December or in January.
Do you, every time Chairman Smith comes here, and this has been a refrain he's had for some time, which is the debt is rising, and at some point we're going to have to look at what the defense spending outlook looks like. Mm-hmm. From your perspective, at what point does that become true, right? I mean, you could say a broken clock's right twice a day. I'm not certainly by any stretch of the imagination comparing the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee to a broken clock. But you can say, well, like, something bad's going to happen. People have been talking about an economic slowdown or a recession for the last couple of years, and that hasn't happened either. The economy continues to run strong. From your standpoint, as you game this out, where is peak? And is there more up? Because folks who said, oh, we're at peak, every year we kind of inch up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the debt levels or the deficit levels, I think, are a gravitational effect on the defense budget, but it's not the driver. I actually think the driver of defense budgets is the threat, the world we face. I think for both parties that drives things more, and the world we face right now is pretty dangerous. Still have the terrorist threats, still have the Middle East, we still have North Korea, and now Russia and China are re-emerging as near-peer competitors. So I think you see a fair amount of support for high levels of defense spending. And as you said, debt will push it down maybe a little bit, but the real challenge with the deficit is not defense spending. That's less than 10% of government spending. If you want to get your arms around the deficit, it's revenue and it's entitlements. And the Republicans have a problem with one, the Democrats have a problem with the other, and until we break that Gordian knot, you're not really going to be able to address the deficit, no matter what you do with the defense budget.
Are you? Well, that's true. And I do. You lived through the Clinton administration when there was an impeachment proceeding that was ongoing against President Clinton over the entire Lewinsky affair, and now we are in another impeachment session, this time against President Trump regarding his, or at least the allegation in the impeachment documents being that he pressured Ukraine to investigate the Bidens in exchange for the clearance of aid. How do you see this clouding the process? I mean, do you think at the end of the day a normal, or at least the semi-normal process budget process on the defense side is going to be possible despite all of this? Or not?
I think semi-normal is probably the way. I mean, obviously impeachment takes up airtime and people's minds and the leadership, and obviously president is pretty focused on it. So I think it hurts in the nature of a distraction, but I think that may be some delay, but I think we'll be able to get through this, and I don't think there's really going to be a direct impact from the impeachment proceedings going forward.
Let me take you to the aptly named CMMC, which is the Cyber Maturation
maturity model.
Model certification, maturity model certification.
The reason we call it CMMC.
Yes, that's right. And we talked to Katie Arrington, who's one of the authors of that, for Ellen Lord, who's here at this great conference. How is that changing how you guys operate, how your vendors operate, and the whole ecosystem operates? Because this is something that you were very passionate about when you were Deputy Secretary. You were talking about cybersecurity a little bit earlier than how vogue it is now. Full disclosure, Northrop Grumman is our cyber coverage sponsor and sponsors our cyber report. But how has this changed fundamentally how you guys do business?
Well, I mean, it changes it in that you have to embed it now in everything. You have to have cyber assurance. Even before they came out with this matrix, it was clear a differentiator and almost a threshold is to be able to protect the data, to be able to protect the systems from electronic attack is a fundamental requirement now of everything that we do, whether it's sensors or communications gear, onboard computing. All of those things need to be protected. So the CMMC is helpful, and it gives us a path to demonstrate that capability that we're already developing of cyber assurance. I think one of the key points you made is the supply chain. I mean, I think we'll be able to demonstrate this quite quickly and quite thoroughly. The challenge is more with the suppliers, particularly smaller suppliers, and how do any weak link in the chain can come back to bite you. So you really have to be thorough in this, and I think the challenge is going to be how do you ensure that supplier base? Do you check everything after you get it? Expensive step. Do you put people in suppliers' factories? Do you rely on their certifications? I think that's the challenge. I mean, it's all a challenge, but I think the bigger one is the lower you go on that supply chain, the more challenging it's going to get.
Under your watch, the company has continued to grow, and you guys celebrated your 50th anniversary. Happy birthday! We talked a little bit about that back either at AUSA or AFA. I can't remember which one it was. I believe it was AUSA. Talk to us a little bit about, everybody wants faster cycles. Every administration has talked about this. The Clinton administration talked about this. The Bush administration talked about it. The Obama administration talked about it. The Trump administration is talking about it. Do you see any needles moving? And from the standpoint of a CEO, what are the incentive structures that have to be put in place? Because everybody has legacy equipment, and now everybody wants to move beyond that legacy equipment. But that, in and of itself, also provides challenges, right? I mean, you make money on supporting that legacy equipment, right? What's the right model? What are some of the conversations, insofar as you can share them with us, that you're sharing with either Deputy Secretary Norquist or Secretary Esper or Secretary Lord or Mike Griffin, to sort of structure this so that you're moving fast, but at the end of the day, you have a reward in this at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, I think we're trying to talk to them about, next generation capabilities, and that's not always a platform. I mean, we're uniquely situated in some ways in that we have sensors, we have computing, we have communications equipment, and what you're able to do with putting all that together is you can fuse the data coming in and then distribute it in an automated way to the decision makers with menus on how you should act or how you might want to act, and it will speed up the pace of warfare and enhance the capabilities without necessarily going through a whole upgrade, a whole new platform. We're talking to them about electronic warfare, something that we had during the Cold War, and we kind of, as we focus more on counterterror, we let it atrophy some, but now as we look at near peers like China and Russia, they have significant capabilities. So we've been able to take, again, that capability that we have and push it into the electronic warfare space. So we're trying to look at not just buying the next system, but how do you get the next capability without necessarily going through the full cycle of a platform acquisition.
Bill Lynn, CEO of Leonardo DRS. Sir, thanks very much. Always a pleasure. A Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a great 2019, and looking forward to seeing you next year.
Great. Thanks, Vago. Always good to talk to you. Have a great holiday.
Or seeing you around the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly.